What's up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Thanks for tuning in. Today we're going to talk about EOS. EOS, what is EOS? Alright guys, well, we are going to break into this. This is, I wouldn't consider it complex, but yeah, it's pretty complex. But I'm going to try to break it down as best I can for you guys. This is not your one-all, be-all for all research. This is just a quick overview of the project. As always, not a financial advisor. I'm not an advisor of financialness. Do your own research, guys. This is just a quick overview. And don't take anything I say for advice, because it's not advice. This is just me talking to you. So what is EOS? EOS has been one of the most overhyped ICOs. Yeah, it has. Dude, it raised like 185 million with an M. Dollars. Well, actually, it was an ETH. But anyways, guys, forget that. But basically, EOS is claiming to be the Ethereum killer. I beg to differ on it, but we'll go ahead and talk about it. You guys have your thoughts, I'll have my thoughts, and we'll go over it. So, EOS is trying to act as a decentralized operating system. However, Ethereum is considered a decentralized computer. So they're saying they are the operating system. So we'll see what happens. EOS is using delegated proof of stake, and it was created by Dan Larimer. Dan Larimer. So anyways, guys, he created this. I believe he stepped down a couple months ago. So do keep that in mind, guys. The founder did step down. Could be a good thing, could be a bad thing. Satoshi Nakamoto stepped down from Bitcoin. Best thing that ever happened to it. So anyways, guys, let's go and dig into it. Let's talk about EOS. Alright, so here is the homepage. So on EOS, basically is making several different claims, but the biggest is that they are the Ethereum killer. And I'm going to explain to you why what they're doing is pretty interesting, I don't think they're the Ethereum killer. I'm just going to sum it up now. So they are fast and scalable. Yeah, they have crazy transaction speeds. But then again, it's like delegated proof of stake, and it's not necessarily as decentralized as Ethereum. In fact, if you didn't know how delegated proof of stake works, this is how it works. So they select 21 different nodes, and for EOS, they're selecting 21, and they're voted on by token holders. So being that it's delegated proof of stake, they do have some voters that participate in it, and this is how the voters are selected. So any of these holders, here's just the rich list. I'm just showing you guys this so you guys can see it. But the total token supply is 953 million, or let's see, 57 million, sorry. And it's got an infinite supply. There's an infinite 5% inflation rate. 4% goes to this reserve and 1% goes to the token holders. So over time, this reserve is just going to be crazy, crazy numbers because it's a rich get richer type of thing. So it's automatically going to go to the reserve 4%, and 1% will be going to the stakers. And you can see this guy has 600,000 of them, 175, 137, 135. Right now they go ahead, or they're already owning 1% of the network in just the top 3. So how the voting works is all the token holders are going to vote on the 21 different nodes or validators that are chosen. And of the ones that are chosen are ones that are verifying blocks. So if a validator stops verifying blocks, obviously they are, you can consider it like papers in a hat. Their paper is automatically taken out of the hat, so they are not chosen until they start validating blocks again and verify that. Then they can be thrown in the hat to be chosen again. So that's a little bit about delegated proof of stake. And again, there's only 21 nodes that are selected. So if a malicious actor wanted to, 21 nodes at a time. If a malicious actor wanted to affect that or create some issues, all they'd have to do is attack at least half of the nodes, so 12, and they can create issues. So that's a flaw that I do see in the system, that they are relying on a small amount of nodes. But when you rely on a small amount of nodes, it's highly scalable and it's a lot quicker because you're only having to broadcast the exact transactions on those 21 different nodes at the given time to verify the next block. Claim that this is very easy to build and develop on. They actually claim it's a lot easier than using Ethereum. Kind of have a grasp of EOS. I'm going to go ahead and explain a couple of other things so you guys can understand a little bit better. But blockchain-based dApps can be both commercial and individual on EOS. And I'll explain those in the future on how that works. But there are two tokens in this model. So they actually offer fee-less transactions. And in order to do that, you need to stake your EOS tokens. And basically you'll get the EOS.io tokens, which are basically the money of the network in order to pay for transactions, which theoretically you get for free by staking your tokens. So the more tokens you stake, the more EOS.io you get, and the more transactions you can process. So this is something that's like, okay, this is rich get richer. So if you're wanting to participate or work on or make a transaction on the network, you better bet your buns you're going to have a bunch of these EOS tokens. So that's a problem that I see in the network is it's not going to allow a great user experience for someone who A, doesn't have a lot of money, or B, doesn't have a lot of EOS tokens, or C, just wants to use the ecosystem to make a quick transaction. That's how it differs from Ethereum. Ethereum actually allows you can purchase Ethereum at any time, even though the gas fees are ridiculously high. You can use that Ethereum to transact on the network and make a purchase or make a smart contract action, etc. So in my opinion, the EOS blockchain is basically your quote-unquote business chain. So this will be something that it looks like several different large exchanges or different companies will be running their blockchain on this. This is in my opinion though. I wouldn't see like the regular user using EOS, being that it's a tall barrier to entry if the price does appreciate. And here's an example of this. This is a Forbes article. $10 billion was basically put into the EOS platform for launching a decentralized exchange. And there's several backers behind this. But basically it was several different people, but the first main important one was Peter Thiel, and then yes, they had Mike Novogratz and a couple of others. But basically, it's just an exchange called Bullish Global. So 10 billion in cash and digital assets by investors: Peter Thiel, Alan Howard, Louis Bacon, Richard Lee, Christian Angermeyer, and Mike Novogratz. So these guys threw their money in it because they see something going for it. So do keep that in mind, guys. And if you guys didn't know, Block1 is actually the creator of the EOS network. Well, not creator, but one of the companies behind it. Just like you have the Ethereum Foundation behind Ethereum. So now you see that there's two different tokens. Now let's go ahead and explain EOS a little more. It achieves the decentralization by offering the delegated proof of stake. And we already explained how that works. But we're going to go ahead and get into the white paper so we can explain it a little more. By the way, just so you guys can understand it a little more, this is what EOS is looking to do. Have support for millions of users, free usage, easy upgrades and bug recovery, low latency, sequential performance, and parallel performance. So this is what they're claiming are the requirements for blockchain applications. And yes, this is definitely needed. And this is what EOS is claiming to do. However, they are leaving out one thing on here: decentralization. That's for me, in my opinion. Again, this is just blockchain, so yeah, there is a feature for companies to have their own chains that do need to be centralized, but I really think decentralization should be on the top for a public blockchain. And this is the delegated proof of stake, so let's go ahead and explain this now. So the EOS software enables blocks to be produced every half second. If there are no blocks produced in that half-second time period, then that block for that time is skipped. So when that's skipped, that basically just means there's a half-second gap in the blockchain. So basically it'll just like phase out and pause, and then it'll reload later once a new block is produced. The EOS delegated proof of stake, blocks are produced in rounds of 126. So 6 blocks each times the 21 producers. That's how they get the 126. So at the beginning of each of the rounds, they're chosen by preference by votes casted by token holders. This is also another problem in it because when is the last time you voted on something on Ethereum? Or if you hold Ethereum tokens, or if you hold another DeFi token, when is the last time you voted on something? Well, the answer is probably never, because you just are holding it either A, just to make gains, or B, just to say, oh yeah, I hold this token, or C, just to stake it, earn DeFi. I don't know. There's different options, but I doubt you ever vote. And especially if you own 0.00000000001% of the network, it's just like, my vote doesn't even matter. If you don't believe me, just look in the United States when people are voting for the presidency. A lot of people just don't choose to vote because they're one out of, what, almost 400 million people, so it's kind of like they don't care. But again, if everyone did that, then there would be like a very skewed vote. So it's tough to think like that, but do keep that in mind. A lot of people just don't vote. So maybe if they made some incentive to vote, that would make it more where people are actually voting on stuff, but I don't know. We'll see what happens. Maybe they'll fix that in the future. But again, blockchain is something that is always in the works for making improvements. And this is something to understand, that there are only 21 producers, so keep this in mind. If a producer misses a block, like we explained, within the last 24 hours, they are removed from consideration until they notify the blockchain of their intention to start producing blocks. They do have a problem with the validation that, in my opinion, their slashing penalty is not as high as it should be, especially for some of the validators. Because if you have a low slashing penalty, it's going to cause some of the validators to basically validate when it's convenient to them, or if it's very critical at a point in time and their network goes down. Or if there's less penalties or a lower penalty, people won't take it as serious. Like the Ethereum slashing is very, it's brutal. You don't want to have your stake slashed on Ethereum. So there are other networks that have a very heavy penalty as well. They're just comparing to Ethereum, so I'm comparing it to Ethereum as well. They explain under normal conditions that delegated proof of stake does not experience forks, but rather they compete because the block producers cooperate to produce blocks. In the event of a fork, the consensus automatically goes with the longest chain. And again, with delegated proof of stake, the longest chain is already elected because the guys, basically all the guys who are voting on the people, they're selecting to choose that chain. It's a little bit different with proof of work. This is how they're also comparing it, is because proof of work, they're working on two separate chains and they're spending compute power on those two separate chains. So there is a chance that you're just spending energy for no reason. However, with proof of stake, there's no energy spent. You're producing your stake on both chains, quote unquote, theoretically, because if there is a fork, even on a proof of stake and proof of work chain, you would actually get tokens from both. So like when Ethereum and Ethereum Classic split and you held Ethereum back then, you actually received Ethereum and Ethereum Classic. So fork the mess out of it, man. I'm just kidding. Don't do that. How's the transaction confirmation and delegated proof of stake? Well, 99.9% certainty after 0.25 seconds from the time of broadcast. So this is after the block is created. So pretty interesting. So let's just go ahead and sum up EOS, and then we'll go over a couple more things a little later in this video. But they are planning to completely remove transaction fees. I already explained the problem with that is if you aren't a huge bag holder, well, you are going to have a quote-unquote sluggish experience because you are not going to have as many as the tokens, can't pay higher gas, etc. And you can't do as crazy amounts of transactions as someone else who has a ton of stake and they're earning more of the EOS.io tokens. They're claiming to have the ability to conduct millions of transactions per second, and how they do that is, guys, they only have 21 nodes, so it's super easy to broadcast on them. And you just create higher compute power on each of those nodes, and basically you only have to confirm between 21 different nodes. Instead of, unlike Ethereum, they have, I don't know, like 10,000 different nodes or validators. So it's a little bit difficult to broadcast across all those, but being that it's more difficult, you get a more decentralized aspect. Support for millions of users, free usage, easily upgradable, low latency, parallel performance, and sequential performance. So behind the team, you got EOS is BLOCKFI. Basically, it's a blockchain-based company that's been in business or been around since 2014. Dan Larimer, I'm just going to call him Larry. Larry is getting it done, man. This guy was over at BLOCKFI, in the blockchain space for a while, but he was actually the CTO of Steemit as well. If you did not know what Steemit is, it's basically like a social media, blockchain-based type of thing. Pretty interesting. Check it out. But this guy knows his stuff. Pretty smart, knowledgeable guy. I mean, you could tell. Look at this, guys. I'm a nerd. Nothing wrong with being a nerd, though. And this is their claims about, also other claims about EOS's scalability, flexibility, usability, and governance. I love how they don't talk about they are centralized, though. It's not centralized like crazy centralized, but you got to factor in, guys. It's a delegated proof of stake. There's only so much you can do about it, but Bitcoin is going to be your most decentralized. Ethereum, in my opinion, they do have a lot of validators, and the tokens are well distributed, so that one's a bit decentralized. Cardano is also very decentralized. You can look on the source codes and see the decentralization of the network, so definitely good to have something that's fair launch. And it's hard if you're having an ICO because a lot of the early investors get rewarded. And then they have the parallel processing. Self-sufficiency, a decentralized operating system, is what they explain, but in my opinion, I beg to differ on it. I guess you are decentralized compared to other companies, but if you're comparing yourself to Ethereum, I beg to differ. If you guys want to see, here's the token breakdown, just so you guys can see where it's coming from. You guys can see BLOCKFI, its rewards are increasing because, again, they get 4%. And then you have the rewards giving out 1% to token holders. But you can see, guys, 900 million of these went to a crowd sale. So if you had a bunch of money and were highly bullish on this, you bought a bunch of them. If you are finding out about the network now, well, I don't know. Time will tell. We'll see what happens. But in the past, yeah, it did have a crazy price back then as well. And it has a higher price now. So it's kind of like, okay, well, did you get a good price back then? Well, I mean, obviously, if you bought at 66 cents, good for you. And then you had a bunch of investors buy in, and then they kind of, yeah, you had some capitulation. I mean, if you picked up a bag at $2, you're feeling good right now. But anyways, guys, not financial advice. I'm just kind of explaining to you guys the token breakdown, just so you guys can see it. It wasn't something that was like I would consider fair launch. It's something that's like, hey, if you had money back then, you bought it, there you go, have fun. So early investors got in as well, so do keep that in mind, guys. One thing I do like about well, not the one thing, I like a couple things about it, but this is one of the main things that is pretty interesting. This quote right here: if you own 1% of the supply of EOS, you own 1% of the bandwidth, storage, and processing power of the block producing nodes. And how do you protect your 1%? Well, you need to stake your tokens, so that's an incentive for it, or else you will get diluted out, because there is a 5% inflation rate every single year. So if there's 1 million tokens, there's going to be 5,000 more tokens, or I'm sorry, let's see, 50,000 more tokens on the market. So like a year from now, there's going to be 1,050,000, etc. So it's interesting how you get to hold 1% of the compute power. So that is definitely something that's interesting. But again, if it's kind of the rich get richer type of thing, so do keep that in mind. Ethereum's model is owning 1% of the Ethereum supply gives you 1% of the gas on the network. However, with the EIP 1559 and with the staking coming out, that does make a change into it. So it does make it a little bit different, because now you are owning a percentage of the compute power, but you have the gas fees. But if Ethereum fixes that with scaling, we'll see what happens. Again, guys, there's still a battle going on. But here is the GitHub, if you guys want to check it out. They are pretty active on GitHub, which is very good to see. A lot of protocols, they really don't even use anything on GitHub. That means they really aren't developing. So these guys are getting their heads down and working. If you guys want to check out a couple of frequently asked questions, you guys can scroll through this. I'll leave a link in the description as well. But you get to it here. You go to EOS, And then on the bottom of the page, you got a frequently asked questions section right here, FAQ. And here's one of their use cases that they came out with. It's basically a solution called Voice. It's basically the social of the soul. And what they were looking to do is Voice is basically putting an end to an anonymous social media users. So maybe they might team up with a Facebook, Twitter, etc. to keep people from creating Facebook accounts. And you know how horrible it is to see fake news. Well, it corrupts our industry, or not our industry, but it corrupts the industry, and it makes it difficult to help people understand what is really true and what is not true. So if you guys are interested in learning more about EOS, this is not your one-all be-all video. This is just a quick overview of it, just a couple things on it. I highly recommend you guys take a look into it. Me personally, I don't think it's an Ethereum killer, but it may have its place in line. Like I said, I believe this could be like a business chain, and Ethereum could be like the people's chain, or there may be another one that comes along. I don't know, not financial advice. Let's see what happens. This is just a quick overview of the project, and if you guys want to learn more about it, visit their website. They have a couple of different topics and different frequently asked questions sections, and they have a Telegram chat as well as a Discord. You can follow them on social media as well, learn about their announcements, and you can also contact them. They just have a contact us. So I'm not sure who reaches out at that point, but still, it's kind of interesting that they have that. And there are some good things and bad things about it, and there's also good things and bad things about Ethereum, the one they're comparing to, as well as several other chains. And even Bitcoin has goods and bads, but hey, you can't win them all, right? You can't have your ice cream and eat it too. Maybe we'll find a solution to that soon. Thanks for tuning in, guys. If you guys enjoyed this video, smash up the like, subscribe to the channel, hit that bell notification. That way you guys are notified every time we make a new one. I spent a lot of time on these videos, and I'm noticing only 90% of the viewers, or actually only 10% of the viewers, are smashing up the like, so I guess I'm doing a bad job. If you guys enjoyed it, really would appreciate a like and subscribe if you want to support the channel and get paid to do it. There's some affiliate links in the description below. I get a reward, you get a reward. It's a win-win. We'll leave you guys with a wisdom one-liner. Actually, we're in the sayings of Agur right now. This is Proverbs chapter 30, verses 29. There are 3 things that are stately in their stride, 4 that move with stately bearing. A lion, mighty among beasts, who retreats before nothing. A strutting rooster, a he-goat, and a king secure against revolt. So true, man. So true. Thanks for watching, guys. If you guys are new to the channel, go ahead and hit that like and subscribe button and hit that bell notification. That way you guys can be ahead of the game every time we make a new video.